Welcome to another exciting episode of the Early History of Bigfoot stories and encounters from 1880s through the 1960s. I'm James Mallory, your guide through this exploration into the mysterious and often misunderstood world of Bigfoot encounters. Today we'll be diving into a particularly fascinating theme: lesser-known Bigfoot encounters in American history, spanning from the 1880s up until the 1960s. These stories, while not as famous as others, form an essential part of the cultural and historical fabric surrounding Bigfoot lore in North America. Before we delve into specific accounts, it's important to provide some context about the time periods we're exploring. In the late 19th century, North America was a land teeming with change and expansion. Exploration into remote and rugged landscapes was common as settlers moved westward. This era provided fertile ground for legends and myths, both as a way to make sense of the unknown and to entertain around the campfire at night. During this time, the term Bigfoot as we know it today hadn't yet been coined, but tales of large, hair-covered beings inhabiting the forests were already part of local lore. It's crucial to understand that Bigfoot legends didn't originate in modern times. They draw on a rich history that predates the name itself. Early stories describe encounters with shadowy figures, often reported by those who ventured deep into the forests and mountains. Our first story takes us to the Canadian wilderness in the 1890s. While exploring the dense forests of British Columbia, a group of fur trappers reported seeing an enormous, ape-like creature lurking at the edge of their camp. These men were seasoned veterans of the wild, accustomed to all sorts of wildlife, yet they were puzzled and somewhat frightened by this unusual creature. Their account, while not well documented in current times, was a topic of local chatter and added another layer to the region's mystique. Indigenous communities have long held the stories of these giant beings. The Sasquatch has a prominent place in the lore of various First Nations and Native American tribes. These stories are deeply respected and woven into the cultural identity of many indigenous peoples. An example relates to the Sinsales people of the Pacific Northwest, who describe sightings of Sasquatch, a term which translates to wild man. Their encounters aren't just anecdotes. They are regarded as factual and spiritual experiences that hold significant cultural importance. As settlers spread across the continent, reports of unusual sightings and encounters with what seemed like a mysterious creature started to emerge from various quarters. One such intriguing tale comes from the 1920s in Oregon, where a group of loggers came across immense, human-like footprints in the mud. These prints were so large and so far apart that they speculated only a giant could have made them. Despite skepticism from authorities, these men were convinced of their story, leaving a trace of mystery that still lingers in the region. Let's consider another compelling sighting from the 1930s in Pennsylvania. It involves a farmer who claimed to have seen a large, hairy creature crossing his field at dusk. The creature seemed to move with an inexplicable swiftness and grace, disappearing into the nearby woods. News of the encounter spread quickly throughout the small, rural community. Despite some viewing his account with skepticism, many neighbors who knew the farmer well vouched for his character, adding credence to his unusual tale. In reflecting on these stories, it's interesting to discuss how local folklore and culture has been shaped by such encounters. The notion of a creature inhabiting the nearby woods often became part of the regional identity, fostering stories that mixed fear with fascination. These lesser-known sightings, while perhaps overshadowed by more sensational stories, are gold mines of culture and history. They reveal much about the communities from which they emerged, their fears, beliefs, and the ways they understood the natural world. Why then do certain stories dominate while others fade into obscurity? Often it's the more sensational or documented encounters that capture public attention. Stories with photos, newspaper coverage, or multiple eyewitnesses tend to become the cornerstone of Bigfoot lore. However, it's worth acknowledging how these quieter, lesser-known encounters have been vital in keeping the narrative alive. They serve as a reminder that the Bigfoot story isn't just about proving its existence, but about exploring our relationship with the unknown. In the 1950s, scientific interest in cryptids began to gain traction, giving rise to what we now call cryptozoology. As researchers started to pay more attention to Bigfoot, older, lesser-known stories resurfaced and were reevaluated. For example, Reports from the remote areas of the Appalachian Mountains were gathered into research findings. These included accounts of eerily human-like figures seen from afar by hikers and campers. Bringing these stories into the mainstream often involves comparisons to more famous sightings. The case of the Patterson-Gimlin film in 1967, for instance, played a significant role in publicizing the Bigfoot phenomenon. The visual evidence captured in this film overshadowed earlier reports, but also caused a resurgence of interest in older sightings, as people sought to verify patterns and consistencies in the Bigfoot narrative. So, how do these lesser-known encounters fit into the broader Bigfoot narrative? They act as supporting evidence that adds layers of credibility and depth to the more prominent cases. They reveal that the Bigfoot phenomenon isn't a modern invention, but a long-standing mystery that has perplexed people for generations. These stories contribute to the rich tapestry of folklore, encouraging us to question what we know about the world and remain open to possibilities. As we conclude today's episode, I encourage listeners to consider the value of all stories, big and small, in understanding the Bigfoot legend. Every account adds a piece to the puzzle, enriches our insight, and perpetuates the curiosity that fuels the study of cryptozoology. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, these stories are a fascinating part of our cultural heritage, deserving of recognition and respect. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the lesser-known Bigfoot encounters of history. I hope you found today's exploration both enlightening and entertaining. Until next time, keep an open mind and an eye out for the unfamiliar. After all, who knows what mysteries the forest still holds? I'm James Mallory, and I'll see you in the next episode of The History of Bigfoot, stories and encounters from the 1880s through the 1960s.